Gambia validates National Action Plan mainstreaming gender in energy access to promote equality. Former NIA director narrates the cruelty of a notorious intelligence agency he once headed. And Nigeria unveils its first locally made electric car. Well, this and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello, this is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Now, the Gambia has on Thursday validated the National Action Plan for mainstreaming gender in energy access as part of efforts by the sub-regional bloc ECOWAS to promote gender equality in the energy sector. The West African Community is promoting energy development through equal access to resources and contribution in decision-making processes that seeks to shape and expand the energy sector in member states. Sana Tunkara reports.
The inequality rates between men and women in the production of energy services in West Africa remains a pressing challenge. Women in most instances are less represented in the energy sector, thereby suppressing their demonstrable capability to strive in the sector. But a 5-year national action plan for the Gambia, which was validated on Thursday, is geared towards addressing gender disparities in energy production.
Equality between men and women with regards to energy provision in the Gambia is not only seen at the end users level, it is also evident in the production and supply of energy services. Although women have demonstrated the capability to strive with remarkable success in the energy sector, barriers still exist that continues to hinder women from exploiting their full potentials as energy producers and suppliers in the energy services. I strongly believe that an energy sector where women's human capacity is not appropriately harnessed and utilized cannot achieve their target set in the Sustainable Energy for All Action Agenda 2030.
Since the adoption of the ECOWAS policy on mainstreaming gender in energy access in 2016, the Gambia as a member state has received technical assistance for the implementation of the project at national level. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Energy Lamin Camara, hailed the Sub-Regional Economic Bloc's initiative as important.
Our sub-regional body, as one of the organizations very proactive in the energy sector, was among the first group of organizations to advocate for mainstreaming gender in energy access. Through its agency called ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, ECRE, ECOWAS developed a program on mainstreaming gender in energy access called ECOWGEN, a flagship program being implemented by ECRE with the goal of addressing barriers to the equal participation of men and women in the expansion of energy access. ECOWGEN aims to factor in the differing needs of men and women in the planning and execution of clean energy projects and programs in the ECOWAS region to enhance universal access to energy services.
As the National Action Plan for mainstreaming gender in energy access is being scrutinized, officials at the Ministry of Energy said the document is in line with the government's overall policy goal for sustainable energy for all. For iAfrica TV, Sohna Tunkara.
And from the report there on equality in the energy sector, next to Nigeria, where local electricians in the country have invented the country's first ever electric car. And many have described the move as historic for Africa's largest economy. The newly launched car, according to the producers, could be the final solutions to the long-standing battle over the increase of oil prices between the government and the country's labor union. With many people expected to go electric, the producers say they are cautious with the price. Here are more details of that in this report.
Nigeria's first locally assembled full electric car. The Hyundai Kona may not be a new name in the global automobile industry, but this one is a big deal for Nigeria, and many here are calling it a vehicle manufacturing history for Africa's largest economy.
With an innovation of a Hyundai Kona, we do not need to put the pressure on what is the pump price of oil again, what is the pump price of petrol again, and all the issues and fights that we're having about prices of petroleum going up and rest of it will be things of the past. And they've said it that it's going to come even at a price that is cheaper than your normal fuel-consuming vehicle.
The car was assembled in this factory using local technicians, and there are more still coming off the line.
The Kona EV is uncompromising newcomer that combines bold, roomy with impressive drive range. Kona has a range of 482 kilometers for one full charge battery. It takes 9 hours, 35 minutes to charge the Kona battery from 0 to 100%. The Kona battery capacity is 64 kilowatt hours. The warranty is for 5 years on the battery and the vehicle itself.
At a cost of 24 million naira, which is around 63,000 US dollars, based on the official exchange rate, the compact SUV doesn't seem cheap. But the makers say when compared to a fuel-powered car of the same range, the cost of operation is about 50% less, and that most importantly, it reduces the global carbon footprints. The city's authorities are already making plans to ensure the car gets a good reception.
We're going to be creating different charging points in the city so that people will not give an excuse and say that because I don't have electricity. We're going to be partnering with some fuel stations. We're going to partner with strategic locations of some eateries where we'll have dedicated charging points so that by the time we're rolling out this car in large numbers, people have opportunities of where they need to charge.
The launch of the car comes at a time when the government and labor unions in the country are locked in a battle over the increase in petrol price. It's a never-ending battle that has raged for decades, but the electric car might just be the final solution. And as more people here go electric, the debate of petrol price will die a natural death.
Nigeria breaking barriers as the country launch first, of course, its first locally made electric car. And from the report there in Abuja, Nigeria, we come back home and head to the ongoing hearings of the TRC, where a former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency Thursday appeared before the Truth-Seeking Commission to narrate cruelty he saw and suffered from in the hands of intelligence operatives. Under the 22-year rule of exiled former President Yahya Jammeh, the NIA, as the agency is widely known by its acronym, was a very brutal organization that allegedly tortured, disappeared, and even killed people. Fatmata Kasim tells us more.
Lamin Bobaji, who would later become the Director General of the NIA, saw firsthand the maltreatment NIA operative inflicted on suspect when he first went there in 2007. Once he was asked by former Army Chief Langtombong Tamba to escort Army officer Sam Kabai to the NIA headquarters, but what he saw was shocking. Sam was an officer of the Gambian Armed Forces from the 2nd Infantry Battalion in Farafenni who was accused of selling weapons to the rebels in Casamance, southern Senegal. Lamin Bobaji had returned to see Sam at the NIA headquarters the next day and found that he was severely beaten.
Because I mark okay. Yes, because the beating left marks on his body.
Did it leave any lacerations?
Yes.
And did you see any blood on him? Or did he look bloody?
Yes. There were some bits of blood on his body, but what one can recognize was that some parts of his body were swollen and some parts were bruised and so on.
To call it by its proper name, it appeared to you that he may have been tortured.
Kumandi ka ko nyum kumandi afa otola wala nyindi ko amunde fere ko ya lipale.
Ya torture.
Ya torture ya tajire
Yeah, tortured, huh? Yes, he was tortured. I agree to that.
Before he fell a victim of the NIA, Bobaji, as director of the notorious intelligence agency, had tried to reform. So he told his subordinate to stop the illegal arrest and torture because the NIA, in his view, was becoming a place where agents settle scores with people they had personal differences.
Nga fo ne ko na jero to anina moero to ngani kala mutako mol ni mol ka du nyola wala official ni NIA official ni mol ka du nyola ke muta ye arrest ye sambana. What I also said to them was that I heard that people have problems when people have problems with each other, and even if people have problems with the NIA, they are arrested and brought to this place here.
And
that's something which I will not accept. Because if anybody has a problem with somebody else, national issue, which is not connected to any national issue, Samba police will take the matter to the police. That's a civil matter. Because it's a civil matter. Personal but this place will not be a place where you detain people on personal matters.
Mr. Baji,
I will not take that.
You said all this because you realized that the NIA was illegally detaining people, correct?
Yin kuma ko be fo ka to nyin kamala ko ya kala mutale ko NIA ketam holde me alon ko e kam mol mutaje ke detain je wala ke sindi je me alon ko ani loi manta fotonya.
Yes.
But he will later suffer the same fate of cruelty as NIA Director General when he was accused alongside former Army Chief Langtombong Tamba of planning to overthrow the Jammeh government in November 2009. Baji was also a soldier and served as the Director of Military Intelligence and Security between 2005 to 2008. For iAfrica TV, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
And we are staying with matters of the TRRC because the Truth Commission on Wednesday also heard from victims of the National Intelligence Agency, the NIA, which brutalized the critics of Yahya Jammeh. Now, Omar Jatta, a building contractor, told the commission that he was arrested, detained, and executed for being a close associate of Ejo Jallo, a politician. Omar Ahmad Toure has more details of that in this report.
A day in 1995, Omar Jatta woke up in the morning and began getting set for work when Usman Sidibe, an NIA operative, came with men and arrested him. At the headquarters of the NIA, he was told that he is a close associate to OJ and that he was part of a planned demonstration around the American embassy. He was placed before a panel that was headed by former intelligence chief Daba Marena.
When I arrived in the room, they told me to take off my shirt. I said, well, to take off my shirt? They said, yes.
At this stage, did they ask you anything before telling you to take off your shirt?
No, nothing.
They did not even ask who you are. They did not even confirm who you are.
Did it? Yes.
And straight away they told you, take off your shirt. And then what happened?
I heard one of them speaking in Mandinka saying that they are the boys of OJ.
And proceed.
I took off my shirt and gave it to them. One of them just grabbed it from my hands and threw it away. They told me to take off my jujus, and I said no.
So about 3 or 4
Okay. I saw about 3 of them coming to force me to take them off. I said, no need.
What did they ask you to remove?
It was my trousers. They told me to take off my trousers.
So 3 of them aimed to you, wanting to forcibly remove it. And then what happened?
So I said, yes, I as far as I was having a belt on, and if they want to force it, it might create problems. I said, okay, let me take it off myself.
And did you take it off?
Yes, I took it off. I was left with only an underwear.
What happened next?
He just slapped me. I just wanted to tell one of them that there is some money in my pocket, and just at that time, one of them slapped me.
After undressing him, Omar said his hands and legs were tied and a chair was placed over him with officers sitting on it while he was being electrocuted.
But what puzzled me, they were electrocuting me and I was shouting. Upon all that, some of them were kicking me. Something like a stick or anything. Something like a stick, they were beating me. Somebody knocked me on my side of the mouth and it was bleeding.
And then what happened after 3 days?
So right hand side. Because they believe in and what happened was my legs went on swelling on and on until one of my legs, the swell was so much that the cable they used to tie my leg went inside my swollen body.
And then?
He found it difficult to put because they found it in fact difficult to remove that wire because it was inside, it went in my body.
After his feet and other parts of his body got swollen, Omar Jatta was then released. Limping and leaning on the walls of the NIA headquarters, he found his way out of the torture perimeters, helpless and stranded. For Africa TV, I am Omar Ahmad Toure.
Witnesses continue to appear before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as the, of course, commission ends another week of hearing, and of course we'll bring you more details of more testimonies in our subsequent news editions. You're watching The World Today on Africa TV, and there's more news coming ahead, but for now we'll take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you for joining us. Now, the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture Tuesday continued his nationwide of rural tourism projects and infrastructure. Tuesday's lake, the 6th day of the tour, took Ahmad Ba to some lodges in the Fonyi district of the West Coast region, of course, of the Gambia. Well, Fatoumata Kasim has more details of that in this report.
Tourism Minister Ahmad Ba visited Bintang Lodge and Apkars Creek Lodge on Tuesday. Apkars is an eco-lodge with a fully equipped conference hall to host meetings, workshops and retreats in an environmentally friendly area and with accommodation of top standards. Ahmad Ba said the government is trying to put in place new policies to develop a system that will promote Gambian tourism in the sub-region and also within the Gambia.
The government is trying to bring new policy
to develop a system to promote the Gambia in the sub-region. We will also promote Gambia inside the Gambia so that the Gambians can go out and visit other places, which will be important to them too. I think that will take us forward because we are all in this together. The reason why we are in a dilemma today is because the tourism sector is not flourishing as it should be. All these projects are funded by the government. Tourism and culture is very important for the country.
Ahmadba also appealed to the media to portray the good side of the Gambia. He said this will make more people interested in visiting the West African nation for their holidays.
Selling your country doesn't only depend on the ministry. What we can do is to put in policies, but you, the media personnel, the rest is in your hands, because whatever you report on, that will reflect on the country. If you report negatively, it will reflect, and if you report positively, the same will reflect. When we put in policies and you did not take a nationalist and patriotic point of view and say beautiful things about our country, we can have our differences, but when it comes to the country and the good of the country, so that people will come and see the country, because whoever comes will bring and take something along which is beneficial for us. Only the government can't promote the country, but the citizens are also important because they are everywhere.
After touring the facilities of the Upcast Creek Lodge, the Minister of Tourism said government tourism stakeholders are willing to partner with the management to promote rural tourism. For iAfrica TV, I am Fatmata Kasim.
And from the report they are filed in by Fatmata Kasim. Of course, next we head to Zimbabwe, because the Zimbabwean government, of course, the Zimbabwean government decision to reopen schools has left some members of the public worried about the safety of teachers and students, with some reported to have contracted the coronavirus in school. Learning institutions and other public places were closed by authorities as part of efforts to curtail the spread of the disease. But that decision has since been relaxed to save the academic year. With some of the teachers on strike, it has been difficult for students to respect sanitary protocols that were outlined by the authorities. Let's have more details of that in this report.
One school has been shut down after 145 students and teachers tested positive for the coronavirus, and another where there are 10 suspected cases is being investigated amidst growing concerns that schools are not equipped to contain the pandemic.
What is mainly behind it is, first of all, the lack of teachers at school. Teachers on strike, so there is no one to enforce COVID-19 prevention regulations. And secondly, the lack of support in terms of financial resources to implement the COVID-19 regulations. The Ministry of Health produced a very good document on ways to prevent COVID-19 and safe reopening of schools. On paper, the document is fine, everything there is okay, but that has not been supported financially with resources.
Authorities have acknowledged some of the constraints.
Deliveries are a bit slow of some of the PPEs, but they are being distributed. We are pleased with some of the schools, particularly the boarding schools, but obviously there are other schools where there's a bit of challenge here and there. It could be a water challenge, or it could be a resource challenge where they probably do not have face masks, enough or adequate face masks, and this is when parents chip in, they give their children face masks to come to school.
Some think the return was premature.
The threat is not over. We should have waited until the new year for children to go back to school and repeat the current academic year.
The longer they stay in school, the greater the risk to them and others.
What most schools are doing is simply testing temperatures when students arrive at school, which may be ineffective in detecting infection. And so therefore schools may be unknowingly spreading COVID-19.
As we have seen with COVID-19, people whose immune system is strong, especially the young ones, they might get the mild form of infection. They'll just get very little to no symptoms at all. So the probability is higher that someone might get COVID-19 but develop very few symptoms, and they might not know that they have COVID-19 because testing is also limited.
Zimbabwe is experiencing a resurgence in COVID-19 cases, which has led to calls for tightening of lockdown restrictions.
From the report there in Harare, Zimbabwe, finally to South Africa. Now, South Africa's finance minister's tweet questioning the viability of the country's national airline has sparked a debate among stakeholders in the aviation industry. It is not clear what prompted the minister's message, but one of the unions involved with the airline could not hide its position with the comments, saying his long objective has been to damage the airline. Here are more details of that in this report.
Mboweni asked his near 1 million followers whether the country needed a state-owned airline or whether a private company should be given the chance to fill the gap.
I thought his question on Twitter was an interesting one, coming after the fact of, after he's already signed off the allocation of the money for the airline and taken it away from other government services. And to me, it sent a big signal saying he's absolutely not convinced that he's done the right thing.
The finance minister is not shy about using his Twitter account to get his message across.
But he was quoted as saying that he wouldn't give 1 cent of his own money to SAA, and that if he had a chicken farm that he had to continually invest in and he got no eggs, he would close it down. So he's been very, very consistent.
One of the unions involved with the airline is less charitable about the finance minister's approach.
It's not the first time that the minister has raised questions about the viability of SAA. It's not the first time the minister has sort of lobbied the media directly or indirectly for support to collapse the airline, because that's been his goal as far as we're concerned.
But there appears to be a discrepancy between what the business rescue practitioners were commissioned to do and what the shareholder department wanted done. And this, an analyst says, could be behind the minister's tweets.
They gave a different set of numbers. They included bailout figures for 3 subsidiaries which were never included in the rescue plan, and they've suddenly watered down the amount of money associated with unflown ticket liabilities by a third, by R1 billion. So all of these things are posing a lot of question marks, and I would imagine that the finance minister, who's under a lot of scrutiny, especially from potential investors and lenders and credit ratings agencies, is asking the same questions, because he probably just doesn't get the answers.
The airline staff that have been left behind are under pressure. They say the future remains unclear.
They don't know what the future holds. They have no idea if they've got jobs in January. They've got no idea if they're getting paid. And the government minister thinks it's okay to just tweet.
The bailout is a done deal, so the minister's social media activity is curious, to say the very least, because essentially this is out of his hands now when the new airline comes into being.
Well, viewers, from the report there in South Africa, we finally bring this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on to our website on africa.tv. But for now, though, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.